that would be turned into something. You know, and like I said, nobody asked me, nobody asked my opinion. I don't know where so I don't know if it was, oh yeah, and so when he was in Citrus, okay, so this is part of the story. um, this is where the whole setup stuff comes in, and I don't know what, but so I had an art table, or he had, I don't forget exactly, but there was some draw. Okay, so this guitar, a friend of mine, the one that I have right here, the yellow Fender Strat, like I had bought my Isaiah guitar. It was a black something. He wanted a guitar and an amp. I bought him an amp and a guitar, his own, and but I was using it because he never played it, and then so I was using it to record or whatever, and but I had this other guitar that my brother's friend Greg Elston had, and he had drawn like Ren and Stimpy and all this stuff all over the case, and like suicidal stuff, like, oh, I would better to die, like all this weird shit. But I didn't think like anything about it, like other than when I moved to their house, I found the case and the guitar because I'd forgotten I even gave it to him. But I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, man, that looked kind of crazy. And he was already in middle school already by that time, almost, maybe in high school almost. Anyway, so I don't know if people thought that like was his drawings. And then somebody had drew some stuff on the table, on the desk. That was his desk, and I saw it, and I was like, computer desk, and I was like, who drew that? It was like sad faces and stuff like that, because I knew that wasn't his drawing. I was like, and he's like, oh, Bella's friend drew that. I don't know, there's some kids over there when his mom was living, not in Paradise, because at that time they were in Paradise, but she was living in Chico or whatever. So I don't know what that was about. And then during that time, during Citrus time, like he was like, I read this later in life, and when I was in Cohasset, living in Cohasset, like there was these diary stuff that he wrote from when he was a kid, and it was like pretty much like people were trying to call him and his friend gay or something like that, or pancakes and something, and waffles, and like some fucked up shit, and like, so it made me cry. Like I didn't realize like he was getting bullied like that, or so I don't know what the fuck, dude. I like this stuff can make me want to beat the shit out of people, but I can't figure. Like I can't believe that his mom knew about this and didn't tell me what was going on, and so all this stuff was happening all at the same time, and so he wanted to also be challenging, like, you know, I'm already grown up and blah blah blah. So all this stuff was happening. So as far as, I don't want to get into all that, but as far as raising Isaiah and trying to be a father, and then this other stuff that people try to throw in the mix and make it into something fucking up my life. And so this play Slay had him part of the play, and had this Santa Claus character that was some demon that like molested kids and all this shit. So I don't know if that was even something, but it was, I don't know. Nobody asked me to videotape it or whatever, but he was the star of the show, and I was, you know, so I put it on my YouTube. But I don't know if the guy, Handsome George, these are the same people at Duffy's. These are all Duffy people. The guys are putting on the show, the people, all these people around me, and so, you know, during this time, they were just trying to make something. So, you know, these are the same people that were like, hey, you know, why don't you do Grendel show, or hey, all my friends are Irish. You know, you could tell kind of, not to think about it and realize like, well, what kind of happened. I realized like, what the fuck was they were doing, but you know, the reason, and whatever people want to say they did it for this reason or that reason, but they fucking pulled my son into this situation and turned it, fucked up his life more. You know what I mean? Made his him have issues with Chico people. And maybe that's my fault, my issues with Chico people, with those Duffy people and the hipsters and I was all in the mix of like this whole racial shit. But they pulled my son into this situation where they shouldn't have did that. Shouldn't have put him into play of that shit. If they had a problem with me or an issue with me, like we should have settled it or something better should happen. But they fucking actually made my son part of this accusation and scenarios and unneeding me. Like he didn't have enough fucking problems in his own life, and this is where I blame his mom, or if she knew anything about this or anything, like any of this stuff, like because she was had him be part of Slay. She was cool with it. Lisa was cool with it. Like, and I was helping out at school, so I didn't think anything of it. And like, I was doing music shows and art shows, like synthesis shows, and so I didn't really see a problem till later, I guess. But none of that was like on my radar, and I was just trying to make money and make a living, pay the rent, deal with being in love with a woman that we were fighting and breaking up, and I would say being a hoe. I was a hoe during that time, hanging out with a lot of women, which people are mad at me for right now, or upset about that situation where, so I don't know. I mean, some stuff I'm like, okay, but some, like, anything that has to do with my son and all this stuff like that is 100% fucking with my son's life, dude. Like, his school life, whether it be, and then, so I don't know, whether, like I said, my son, 100% great person. I don't believe he's ever been abused, like, especially from me, not from me at all, but I don't believe anything, even with his stepdad or his mom's life or his Grammy's life or whatever. I don't know. Like, then the rumor of him not being my son, having a different dad, came out, and so some people thought that was funny and making an issue. You know what I mean? Can you believe, like, Chico people, and they wonder why I have a problem with Chico people right now, and Oroville people, whoever the fuck, like, came into this picture and tried to destroy me, but through my son, because that can't hurt nobody much more than fuck with his family, and so that happened, and I don't know, they say, I guess he was taking mushrooms, and so we had a fallout because they made him part of all this stuff, of these issues, and so he was like, he was going through normal teenager stuff. First of all, me and his mom were also fighting about raising him and how to raise him, and then I started going through all this stuff and thinking people were trying to say I did all this crazy shit. So I wasn't, like, able to raise him for these last few years, like 4 years almost, since I've been in Cohasset, because there was also other stuff. So this is one thing I needed to clear up, and I needed to make sure everyone understood that period. Don't even, like, and everybody should, but fucking, there's some people that came into the picture that said some stupid shit in front of my son, basically telling my son all this bad stuff about me, and they're supposedly his friends, or trying to get him into gangs, or trying to get him into this and that, or giving him drugs, and you know what I mean, like, using his weaknesses against him, trying to take him away from me being able to father him. and his mom was part of this, so I don't know what her role is in this situation. Her these Chico people, I guess they're like Irish or Scottish or whatever. So all this white racist stuff, like trying to make me racist or trying to say this and that, when basically saying all the negative stuff about me and having him be trying to be part of it. That is where I've been at, and the situation I'm at right now is we hang out and we're cool and everything, but there's still like this whole distrust of. So when I break down all this other stuff, it's not going to change the years that I lost, and that's why I'm pissed off. Like, I can go into every single story and say exactly what happened, exactly the situation, but I didn't know about it, and I felt threatened. Like, I don't know if somebody tried to put my DNA somewhere and tried to. People were coming at me like FBI and shit. Like, my friend Don, the guy I talked about earlier, like, he had a. I'm gonna keep going. It's an hour. I'm gonna cut this in two. He supposedly got busted for murder or something, or I don't know. Like, and they're growing. This whole place is weed. This is why I'm pissed off at weed people. Like, all these weed people everywhere. But like, he supposedly got somebody in the mountains, and it was on the news. That's when I first saw it. Like, I was living Sarah's house for because so I left 42 Oak Drive, and I had hung out with my friend Don after, because after when I was living at his house in Paradise, like, he we had a kind of a fallout there too. I was like, he was trying to be dominant over me, like, because I was living in his house or staying on his couch. He was like trying to sit on me and shit. I was like, dude, like, what the fuck? So it was, we were still young men, so it wasn't like all, but it was, actually, that wasn't the main issue, but there was just issues here and there. Like, there was this black lady that on TV, that some racial stuff that, like, he was like, fuck that girl, why is she crying? She got bullied, and I was like, dude, like, fucking, that shit's real, like, fucking get her, like, somebody pulling your hair, calling you nigger, like, it's fucked up. Like, how you gonna be, like, you're my friend, how are you gonna not understand that, dude? Like, so he was like, no. So that was some issues there. And then another issue was, what was it? Oh yeah, my son, like, him and my son would wrestle, or like, I'd bring my son over. I forget when this was, but like, there was competition between his son and my son. His son was pretty aggressive, and my son was really passive, and I didn't really like. So I was like trying to, his son was like choking out my kid. I'm like, hey, dude, like, so I'm telling my son, punches, fight back, and so he's like, hey, don't be telling your kid. I'm like, dude, you're letting your kid choke my kid, like, fuck, like, so there was that issue too. So it was just, he was trying to be dominant over me, and I didn't like it. So we had kind of a fallout there. And then, when I was living in 42 Oak Drive, like, he wanted to do farmer's market. I don't know if I was doing farmer's market already, but like, he was like, hey, I'll help you out or whatever. So we were gonna go into business together, and then it didn't work out. He tried to do some project, and try to put all these pipes, instead of getting like a normal tarp or whatever. I was supposed to do the drawing and whatever, and he was supposed to help fund it and make the booth look good. So we tried to makeshift a booth, and then it didn't work out. I didn't want to freaking sweat in the sun trying to fix this pipe, fucking, what was it, man, a plastic CVC pipe or whatever. And my dad were trying to put it together, and I'm like, dude, that's the stupidest idea you could think of. There was like 30 pieces or something together, try to put together. So I was just like, and so it was just, that plan didn't work out, and he wanted to charge me for like buying the PVC pipe. And when I told him, I was like, dude, I was like, dude, this is not a good idea. So and I ended up with the bill of having to pay for the table and all the stuff like that, and because he's like, oh, I quit, I'm not even gonna be part of this. Just pay me money. And I was like, dude, I'm stuck with fucking having to do all this other shit by myself, and now you want me to pay me for an idea that you had that I didn't want to do, and you're mad at me for, like, so that we had a fallout there, business fallout. He didn't put no money into the actual creating. Anyway, so that was like, it was like 1 week. We did it 2 weeks maybe or something. I forget. But it just didn't work out from the beginning. So that was our issue. And so I hadn't seen him for a long time. I guess he went to Oroville and he made millions. I don't know. He was making a bunch of money selling stuff to grow, like, I don't know, called Amazon. It was like fertilizer and all that stuff like that, grower stuff. And this is before it was on everybody's radar. People get scripts, but it wasn't like thought of being really, really going to be legal or not. I don't know exactly, but I hadn't seen the guy for a long time, and a couple of years at least. And I don't know. So I had talked to my old bandmates, and they were like, yeah, he changed. They had a fallout with him too, I guess, somehow or whatever. I don't know exactly, but I guess he was the boss. He had a bunch of people working for him, and so I don't know. Like, this was after the fact, but during this time, I was dealing with my own stuff, as I said. Then I was like, so for this time, I wanted to move out already. I was like, okay, I'm giving up. I have all my shit. I'm ready to get out of Chico, and not even. I wanted, like, paying the rent with my dad. I was working at B College, all this stuff. Like, so I was making money, but then I was just done. Isaiah was already, I don't know, 15, 16, I don't know, probably 15, and I was just like, I'm going to go to the city, live my life or whatever. I mean, we had plenty of talks, but this was just kind of some of the situation of that, and I was just paying too much rent, and he was at his mom's most of the time, so I was like, or not most of the time, but during this time it was already, I don't know what exactly was the situation, but I just didn't want to pay all that rent and live in Chico anymore. So my idea was getting rid of all my stuff. So we ended up having all this bill. Me and my dad, like, there was all this money that I had to pay, and I was just like it was always like a month late or whatever. Like, working at B College, like, it was still like not enough money. So I was gonna go rent a room, and so that happened. Moved in Chico, got a room. It was like $500 or something, but it was like a master bedroom or whatever, and like that was a whole situation. So that's when I found out that I was in some deep shit, or some shit where it was a community effort. Because during that time, it was just I knew I was being fucked with, but I didn't know. Anyway, so I'll get into that later. So that was something. I don't know if they were regrowers or what. I was playing with the Ramona Sky Band, so there was all this racial stuff. I was still working at B College, like, so all this stuff, my own drama, all this community stuff, and finding out stuff here and there. So then I lived there, and then I went to, after, I don't know, 6 months, I had a lease or something, and then I got out of that lease, which was, I hated that place. I didn't like the people. It was like, they're all shady. Like, I can go into that another day. The neighbors were some fucking rich white people, fucking fraternity looking dudes. I don't know, it was all shady. Pretty much like they got me there, and they were fucking with me. So yeah, but at this time I still didn't know what was totally going on. But And then my girlfriend, the one that I had, whatever, she ended up with some other dude, and we were, like I said, back and forth here and there. But that's when she told me she was pregnant. So she came over and told me she was pregnant with this guy's kid, and she cried or whatever. And she's like, I don't know, I'm crying. I'm like, it was just terrible. It was like my son stayed there like one couple nights on the floor. Like it was just like, oh man. Anyway, so it's been rough, man. It's been a rough time. So that happened, and then this other girl, Lillian, she was a dancer around town. She was like in a Cafe Coda art show. She wore like a George or a McCain mask, and they did her and this other girl, Hillary Duff. She was a daughter of a rich family, and like that was part of the Blue Room Theater. And she seemed pretty cool, and so they had and it was like she came. I was drawing at the farmers market, and she was like, "Hey, draw me like Frida." I was like, "Oh." All the women wanted to be Frida, so that I don't know. So they were all. I was kind of used to it, but they. That's how I met. I was painting a mural at by Cafe Coda. It was like the one with the taco truck, and it was the first one that I did for um, Jose, the guy from Gordo Burrito. It was Cocina Economica, but he had owned it at that time. But I did that mural, and she passed walking by. I knew this other dude, um, Mexican dude, that he was doing murals, and she was walking by while we were talking, me and the dude, and she was like, "Hey," and she was good looking. She kind of half Latin, half white, but she looked brown. She was hot. She was like, well, not super hot, but like she was still like good looking. She was just walking by in her tight pants and all that. So there was no real like connection. There was no like. So I don't know if she liked the other guy. She was like actually like checking him out. So that's how I met her, and then so later on during the years after a year or so, she was like, "Hey, I got a room if you want a room." I was like, "All right." And she had a nice house. I guess her mom was white, and she had a kid with some Hawaiian guy, and they weren't together or something. I don't know, or Mexican guy, or I don't know why, or somewhere tropical. And she was, I guess, used to being like going on trips. Like there was like a lot of these Chico people that were like raised with money. They would always go to Hawaii or something, like do these extravagant like hippie life, like springs, going to mud springs or whatever. So they're always talking about this stuff, making beads and earrings and all. So she was part of that group, but she was also like salsa dancer extraordinaire. So she was part of that group too, which was part of the group that was in cafe culture, which I did some murals for those guys, and they were kind of the colored folks around town, like hippies people, but they were doing like African dance and all that stuff. So, so I lived with her, or I rented a room from her, and it was a nice house, but she was only there for a week. So like she had a kid, and she was her boy, and it was like a big old uh, like the living room was full with like his toys and stuff. So it was like, so I rented the room. She was like, "Oh, I'm going to whatever, to Hawaii or whatever, to hang out with his dad or something." She was getting paid to go somewhere, to go on vacation or whatever for a year or whatever. So they're only there for like a week. So I was kind of lived there on my own. Didn't really do too much with the house. I was just working on my stuff and try to keep it clean or whatever. Let my son and his friends hang out there one time. I wanted to go hang out with this girl. So during this time, I was renting this other room. This lady, I did the wildlife mural on her back of her house. I forgot her name, Fox something, Judy Fox. So she was an artist around town or something, and older lady, she was like, "Oh, some ad on Craigslist." So during this time, I was looking for a room, and so that room was offered, and I was like, "I'll do the mural." But so it was kind of weird. I had two rooms, but I'd never stayed at the house because it just felt weird, and I forget exactly what one came first, but like I did have some art supplies there, and but I never stayed in that room. It was a shower and everything, but it was kind of like it was weird because it was like some tweaker guy that stayed there, some white dude. So I did go hang out there one time with this girl, that I've been hanging out with throughout the years. So we did hang out there once, and I let my son and his friend hang out at the house, but I told them not to party. Like I just said, they were gonna stay the night or whatever. So when I got back there, they were they partied, and so I had to clean up the house. So when she got back, she was like, "Hey man, like somebody was in my room or whatever," and I was like, "What?" So I don't know if that happened, but they were trying to say that I was in the room, or they were trying to say that somebody was living at the house, like when I was there. So I don't know if that was part of the fake gay shit, or I don't know what it was, but I was like, dude, nobody was living there. My son came there like stay on the couch twice, like no. So I don't know what that situation was about. The reason I'm saying all this stuff is because I don't know what rumors are out there. But the first one, when I was there the first night, she was like came with the tequila bottle. She was like, "Oh, let's hang out," and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna walk through the hallway naked and don't look." And I was like, so I was like already dealing with the first house, the first room I was dealing with, and they were like trying to. It was like all kinds of shit. Somebody popped my tire, like racial stuff. There was like so. I was already like, but I knew this person, so I was like, no. But that's where my trust started diminishing. So anyway, she left. She came back, and it was. I guess they rented a room to another girl, this white girl, and she was a singer or whatever. And she was like, her and her boyfriend. And this, it goes on and on. Like, dude, like that's why you can understand how tired I am. So all these Chico people, this old guy, this older gentleman, about playing harmonica. They were like, I don't know if they were cops or undercover, or if they were fucking just like concerned citizens, but they were all like with their fake names and shit. Like Bob Dylan says, you can trade your face